Hey guys, welcome to Broad Street to Britain, a UK Phillies show. And as you can see, I am joined by another very special guest. Yes, that's right. It is the Philadelphia Phillies third base coach, Dusty Wathan. Dusty, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
And by the way, Dusty is in as we chat right now is in the bullpen there or the dugout
No,
at
the
Citi
bullpen.
Field.
Yeah, the bullpen at Citi Field.
Man, what a location. Ready for the Phillies v Mets tonight. 4-game series. Well, kind of a 4-game series. 2 at Citi Field, 2 in Philly, and then of course they are in London in just over 3 weeks' time. And we will get into that. The Phillies right now, they are hot. What a start to the year. Dusty, the vibes inside that clubhouse right now, they must be. Is it good or is it still business-like? Is everybody still right? Next game, next game, next game. How is it? How are the vibes in there right now?
I think it's real good. I think, the good thing about this team is that we've been together for a while now, a couple years, coaching staff, the players, more than, 2 years now. And everybody knows each other. So everybody kind of knows everybody's routine. So kind of knows each other's personality. We came into spring training not having to really learn anybody's habits or anything like that. So, yeah, it's been great. The vibes are great. We're playing well. So just every day you go out there and try to win another ball game, try to win the series.
Going into spring, everybody was saying there's this very much feeling in the air of, right, there's no messing around. This is it. We want to get to the World Series. We want to win the World Series. And it seems to me, coming across to me, that that's how they've been playing. They got their one focus, one aim, and that's to get in and then finish the job this time. Is that very much how it is in the clubhouse and how everyone's feeling?
Yeah, I would say so. I say, we wanted to get off to a quick start, and we have. We're about a quarter of the way through the season, so we got a ways to go still. But, you want to take it series by series, which in baseball terms is, 3 or 4 games at a time. And our goal is to get in the playoffs and then win the World Series. Our ultimate goal, I think we will all look at it as a failure if we don't win the World Series. We've been in the playoffs a couple of times, had some pretty good runs. And now it's time to take that next step and win a World Series for the city of Philadelphia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody in Philadelphia, around America, here in UK, Europe, the world, the fans, we're all very excited, but at the same time, just trying to keep our feet on the ground. It's a long season, like you said, but it's hard. The Phillies are doing so well. It's hard not to get carried away, but what a start it's been. Dusty, I just want to go into, for the people who may not know, and there's a few in the UK and around Europe who won't know this, but your father, John, was a catcher for the Kansas City Royals, had nearly 50 years with the organization at the Royals, won the World Series in 1985. Your sister worked for the Royals for 18 years. A big Royals connection for yourself. Are the Royals, you still got a close, something close for them in your heart still? Are they still, an organization that means a lot to you?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been there. I got called up. My only time in the big leagues was with the Royals. So, yeah, the Royals will always be a special place in my heart. I mean, we grew up in Kansas City, rooting for the Royals, obviously with Dad being there and everything. So, yeah, there'll always be a little bit of special thing in my heart for them. But, it's nice to see them doing well this year. I always root for them. But, when it's time to play them, we want to beat them, obviously. But Kansas City is a great baseball town, great place to grow up like I did. So, yeah, there's always something in the back of your mind where you kind of follow them a little bit.
Absolutely, and they gave you your chance, your debut in 2002. 3 games, 3 for 5, and an RBI. Not many can say that. You spent a lot of time, nearly 12 years, 13 years in the minors. You got your chance with the Royals. When you were playing and growing up, other than your father, of course, who else were you sort of players you look to? Who were the players back then that you would go, yeah, that's my favorite player. That's who I base my style off, my catching style off.
Well, I think at the time when I was growing up, the guys were Carlton Fisk, Bob Boone, some more local guys. When I was in high school was a guy named Mike McFarland that had a pretty good career, probably not as popular as those guys, but I was around him a lot growing up. So those are mostly catchers. But, obviously my dad and George Brett were really good friends. So George was over at the house a lot, and looked up to him as far as a hitter. Didn't really play his position, but just to watch him and see what he did at the ballpark every day, because back then there was a lot more interaction with kids. It's kind of going that way a little bit more now. We're bringing some kids in here and there. But, I was at the ballpark a lot of days. And then all through high school, when I didn't have a game, I worked at the stadium as a ball boy and stuff. So got to spend a lot of time in big league clubhouses. So I was around a lot of good people, and very fortunate.
13 years in the minors it's a long time. It's a long time, like just at that nearly level. Was it tough sometimes? Like, did you ever have self-doubt that, am I ever going to make it? Because you had that taste and then you came back down again. Was it sometimes tough to stay motivated because such a small percentage make it when you're in the minors for that long? Is it tough to keep yourself going?
Not really, because I was never really a highly touted player at all. I was non-drafted, had a tough first year, thought maybe that was it. But my goal really to play pro ball was to get into coaching. I wanted to get a little bit of credibility. And back then you really needed to play professional baseball. You didn't see many coaches that didn't play professional baseball, coaching in professional baseball. So, that was kind of my goal. And lucky enough for me, I had a couple good years here and there. I ended up being able to play 14 years. Actually, I signed in 94 and was done in 2007. So, I kind of got to the 07 season. I was 34 years old. Body was starting to break down a little bit. Kind of would look at the lineup card and say, well, not playing today. And I wasn't upset about it at all internally. And I kind of said about July of that year, I said, you know what, that's probably about time to stop and go into coaching. And right away, I had a manager at the time named John Russell, who also played for the Phillies back in the day, managed Pittsburgh, and coached for a long time with the Orioles. Is now a AAA manager for Seattle. We had a bad team that year in AAA. We were in Ottawa, Canada, playing before the AAA team was going to move to Lehigh Valley. And, he took me aside and kind of showed me some things, showed me how to coach third base, showed me some scouting reports and responsibilities that minor league managers have to do. And lucky for me, the farm director at the time, Steve Novarita, offered me a job right away. Had a couple other opportunities to go to a couple other organizations, but I had played my last 2 years with the Phillies and was comfortable being around the people that were there. So I accepted that job and went to the lowest levels of the minor leagues, Williamsport, and managed there. And, managed 10 years in the minor leagues, and then had the opportunity to finally interview for a major league job, and didn't get the managerial job, but very happy that I'm here and coaching third base for the last 7 years.
Awesome. So as a player, your mind was actually on, you know what, I'm watching what the coaches are doing. That's what I want to be doing after I'm playing.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the beginning, when I was a young kid, I really paid attention to. My dad says it goes back to when I was little, just watching baseball games. Fortunate enough to sit behind home plate of a lot of Royals games and sit with Buck O'Neill, who was a Negro League legend. He would sit on my right. A guy named Art Stewart was the scouting director for the Royals, would sit on my left, and I would just listen to stories and sit and pay attention. So I think that helped me a lot in watching baseball games with guys that had so much experience and were willing to teach the game. I think it helped me a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. And of course, you became, in July 22nd, 2016, the winningest manager in Reading Fighting Phil's history, which was quite a team back then. How was that? And at the time, because obviously a lot of players at that level have their eyes on the majors getting in. Was that the same for you at that time when you just done that bit of history? Were your eyes on, okay, I want to make the next step now as well?
It is and it isn't. You always, and like I tell the players, you have to be where your feet are on that day. If you try to get ahead of yourself, you're going to get yourself in trouble. As a player, a lot of guys want to look at rosters ahead of them and behind them and say, oh, I'm playing better than that guy or this and that. So you got to just do what you do on that day and let everybody else make those decisions. And that's what I did as a manager as well. I did the best I could that day with the team that we had. I was lucky to have a lot of very good players, which helps you win a lot of games. So I think that was the biggest thing is, not looking ahead too much and spending your time where you are, where your feet are, and enjoying the time that you're there. Because I think when it's all over and said and done, if you don't enjoy what you're doing on that day, you're going to look back and be upset about things and say, why didn't I enjoy the experience, enjoy the ride?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's generally the case in all sports. The high moments like that can be very rare in sport. In fact, there's more failure than success in sports. So when those moments come along, I think you have to savor it. You have to appreciate those moments. One player in that team particularly was a man who was a monster at that time, Rhys Hoskins, who you two sort of came up together, didn't you? You both went to AAA together, then both went into the majors with the Phillies together. You and Rhys must have been very close. Was it? I know players come and go in baseball in general, but was it quite hard to see Rhys go personally?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Rhys and I threw BP to him for about 8 years straight. I think we were away from each other for about 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
We were together the whole 16 season. And then 17, I moved up to AAA with him, and he got called up in August. We made the playoffs in AAA, and then after that season was over, I went straight to the big leagues. So we were together all that time, and for the most part, I was the one throwing batting practice to him. So yeah, it was hard to see him go. It was kind of weird last year with him being hurt. He was around, but he wasn't playing, and sometimes he would travel, sometimes he wouldn't. So, I mean, I think he said the same thing. It kind of I don't know if it made it a little easier, but, it wasn't a sudden stop, like all of a sudden Rhys isn't on the field. It was kind of one of those gradual things where you were around him and you kind of saw what was going to happen. You saw how well Harper played last year. And, obviously Rhys is playing great this year. He's doing his thing again. So it's exciting time for him. But, yeah, it was difficult. We're really close.
Are you still in touch now? Because he's back, of course, in just a couple of weeks' time as well.
Yeah. We text back and forth a lot when I see him do something, and just tell him that I'm rooting for him, and just happy to see him having a lot of success.
Yeah, as we all are. We're all rooting for Rhys, and it was great seeing him hit those home runs against New York when the Brewers were there. And it's just, I'm looking forward to seeing him come back to Citizens Bank Park in June. And I know a lot of Phillies fans are already planning to make the journey over to Milwaukee when the Phils go over there just for the Rhys reunion there. So it's great, and it's great the fans still have that affection for Rhys because he was a big part of the Phillies team. He was there in 2017. He helped build the team up. That postseason, the bat spike, for me personally, one of the best memories I'm ever going to have as a Philly sports fan in my time. It's great to see him doing so well. As you said, 2017, you became the Phillies third base coach. Had you ever done it before? And was that quite nerve-wracking at the time? You've made it to the majors. Do you remember your first game of the season, opening day, standing there? It must have been, for you personally, a really big occasion.
Yeah, so in the minor leagues, typically the manager, especially in those days, you only had a manager, a pitching coach, and a hitting coach. They tend to have more coaches now in the minor leagues. But so you would coach third base as a minor league manager. So I coached third base for 10 years, essentially. Once I got to AA and we were playing National League games where the pitcher was hitting, I did have an extra coach. Actually, it was Mickey Morandini. And he would coach third base, and I would manage from the dugout. So I got a little bit of taste of that as well, hoping to prepare myself that one day maybe getting a managerial job and managing from the dugout. But the experience of coaching third base it was huge through the minor leagues, and felt pretty comfortable doing it for a long time. So, it was fun. But my first game was in Atlanta. I had my family there. So it was pretty exciting to see them there and just let them experience my boys, 2 girls and 2 boys, and the boys were on the field before the game, and we got some great pictures and stuff. So, yeah, it was a great experience. And, the more and more you do things, the more and more comfortable you get. So at this point, you can see why a lot of managers want veteran players because they've seen things and been through things. And it's kind of the same thing with the coaches. Like, you've been through a lot of experiences, a lot of situations, and you're more comfortable out there doing things.
Right. Awesome. And the role itself, right. Little story here. So I didn't grow up with baseball. I started following in 2012. So before the Nationals, I'll get into the story. Before the Nationals game this year, on the Friday night game, I was lucky enough to have a ticket right at the very front, right next to the Phillies dugout, which for me was an incredible experience. It's the first time that I've actually been able to look at that side of the game and watch that side of the game, watch the players in the dugout. And I was sat right behind you. And before this experience, I was one of those who just thought, oh, he just waves the players home. He gets a great job. You know, he sends them to home plate. He's part of the heroics, a hero. And then when I was sat there watching what you actually do, it was like, wow, completely opened my eyes, because you never switch off at all. And it's intense. You, even in the breaks in play, I caught you watching the opposing players like a hawk. It was incredible, the intensity, and you're watching for every move when you're in the dugout, constantly talking to players, signals everywhere, in constant communication with Topper. I never realized how much until I had that seat and watching what goes on behind the cameras, so to speak. And it just, like, I have so many questions here, so please bear with me. And some are a little bit simple, but it just opened my eyes. But for those who don't know, what is the role of the Phillies third baseman?
Well, so I coach third base, and my role is to Topper will give me signs, and then I relay them to the runners and the batter, and then Paco Figueroa, our first base coach, in turn will kind of help the guys out at first base to make sure that they've seen the sign or remind them of a bunch of stuff. I mean, you go through a whole checklist of things that, check the outfielders and all that stuff. So, my role is to get everybody to be safe and nobody to be out at home plate. And it doesn't happen all the time, but that's what the fans want. And that's what I want. We want all of them to score and none of them to be out, but that's not really going to happen. So, yeah, my role is just to help them try to get to home plate, remind them what the situations are. That's why I'm checking everything. You need to know where the outfielders are playing, where the infielders are playing, and remind them everything. And then after the inning's over, when we're on defense, I'm in charge of the running game as far as controlling the running game, throwovers to first base, letting JT and Stubby know, who the runners are. If a guy gets on first base, giving him signs to throw over, giving him signs to slide step, which means basically the pitcher to be a little bit quicker to the plate so that we have a better chance to throw guys out. So, yeah, there's the whole game, something's going on, and there's a lot to it that people don't really realize while they're sitting up in the stands drinking their beer.
And I was the same until I had that, I was just sat right behind you, and it was a cold night. It was freezing cold, that game. Thankfully, the Phils did win. But there's a lot of dead moments in the game. It was a slow game, so I was able just to watch you guys. And you're right, there's this constant communication, so much going on, a lot of hand signals. I was just like completely over my head. Is it quite hard to remember because there's a lot going on? Are you constantly having to remind yourself sometimes, or where you've been doing it for so long now, it's all second nature to you?
Well, I think the hardest thing at first is when you're managing the game in the minor leagues, you're making the decisions in your head. Am I going to steal here? Am I going to hit and run? Are we going to bunt? And things like that. But when Topper's making the decisions, I have to look at him and I just anticipate. We've been together for quite a while now. Obviously, he's only been the manager for a little over 2 years now, but we've been in the clubhouse together for 7. So I kind of know how he thinks, and I can anticipate things that he's going to do. So I think that was the biggest adjustment coming to the major leagues, was making sure you got the signs from the manager, who was Gabe Kapler at the time, and you're not making the decision. So you could kind of switch your mind up in the middle of your signs if you wanted to change things up. But once you're getting the signals from the manager, you have to know what's going on prior to that and really focus in on him on what they want to do. So, yeah, you don't really forget. You have a routine of checklists. I'm going to give my signs. I'm going to check the outfielders. I'm going to check the infielders. You kind of have a routine in your head. It's it's kind of like waking up in the morning. You know what time you're going to get your tea or your coffee or whatever, and
right.
You know what time you're going to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth and everything. And it almost becomes second nature after doing it for years.
And how much prep's involved? Because there's got to be a lot. Because now we're playing every single team at least once this year, and last year. Are you at home watching videos? Scouting all the outfielders, because obviously, for you, the main focus is the outfield. Where's that cutoff coming in? How quick can they get the ball back in play? Do they throw flat-footed? You must have to study the techniques of all the outfielders. Do you do that alone? Do you do it with the players, with the coaching team? What goes into a prep for a game?
So we have an advanced scouting team that puts a report together and lets us know kind of what's going on. But prior to me even looking at that, I'll go and look at all the outfielders' arms, the middle infielders' arms, watch a bunch of plays that they've had over the last 3 years or so, just to see where they're at. You can tell a lot by, if the ball bounces one time and it's low, he throws better that way. If he ball bounces one time and it hits him in the chest, he might not throw as good, or vice versa. Maybe he throws better moving forward laterally. Maybe he throws better on a fly ball instead of a ground ball. So you watch all that video with my eyes, and then I go back and look at our advanced scouting report and match that. And if there's something different, I'll talk to one of our guys that does that stuff and puts that together, and we'll talk it out and hash it out a little bit. As well as Mike Calitri does all our advanced pregame meetings when we go into a series, and he's our bench coach, and he and I will talk about things, what he's seen, if I missed something, or if he saw something or I saw something, just so we can cover it with the players, and that they know what to expect from the guys throwing, like I said, the relays from the second baseman, shortstop, the outfielders, whether they play balls off the wall well. So there's a lot of video work that goes into it, and it gets a little bit easier the more you do it, because you play guys more and more. But still, even if we played a guy, I still want to go look, especially maybe his recent bias. Maybe he's a little bit injured. Maybe his arm's sore. You see a couple throws that didn't come out as well. And they're obviously all measured with velocity now and stuff too. So you can really see match the velocity with what your eyes are telling you.
And it is also when you get a player on third base, like I saw Bryce get to third base in that game, and you were in quite an in-depth conversation with him as well. Are you just going through again, reminder of situations of if the ball goes there, he's going to throw fast, or are you just going through routines with him while they're at third base?
Yeah, I'm just reminding him the outfield arms. Most guys will want me to tell them if they're going to run on a sacrifice fly or not. So I yell tag right away, and then I'll say yes, 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 or no, no, no. And I'll get down the line a little bit, usually to be able to hold them if I have to hold them on a sacrifice fly. And then I'll remind him, this is where the infielders are. If it's hit to the third baseman, he's playing a little bit in, so we're not going to go on a ground ball. So I'll tell him which infielders we're going to go on. There's some guys that don't throw well in the infield, so we might say, well, no matter what, you're going to go if it's hit to that guy. No matter where they're playing. So you kind of go through the field and where they're going and remind them, like, hey, the backstop here is the ball bounces off really good, or it sticks to the backstop. Make sure you can be aggressive here on a ball in the dirt. Don't be aggressive. This is where we are in the lineup. Make sure you can score without sliding sometimes. So yeah, you go through kind of a whole checklist of just all the different things that you can think can have happen, and hopefully you catch them all. And now with the pitch clock, it gets to be a little bit more difficult because you don't have as much time to go through this stuff. But, there's a lot of stuff to go through, and hopefully you can get to it.
And for you yourself, it must be, I was thinking about it, it must be quite a high adrenaline job, because you're always, you're constantly focused on what's going on, play by play, and you've got decisions to make as well, snap decisions as well. If you're going to send a player, hold a player, you've got, like you said, the checklist. Like you said, there's so much more to the role than what people think of just waving players home. Is it quite a rush? Do you get the adrenaline pumping? Do you feel like, because you're as part of the game as anybody else, as the players, just probably behind the players?
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I say it's a lot of fun. It's the closest thing to playing without playing anymore. When you get to my age, obviously way too old to be playing, but it's the closest thing you can get to actually making an impact in a game like a player. So I enjoy it a lot. I have a fun time with it. Feels like I'm playing sometimes still. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I bet. And then obviously the last 2 years, the postseason, the first time for yourself as well, not only for Phillies fans, but for yourself. Do you feel a little bit of extra pressure in the postseason? The noise, the atmosphere, Citizens Bank Park, renowned, it's rocking. I've been there, I've felt it. Do you feel that on the side as well when you're standing there at third base? Do you feel like, that there's a bit more extra pressure, that there's more eyes on you, every decision is amplified? Do you get that, okay, big game for me as well, I've got to get this right, or is it just business as usual?
I think you try to treat it as business as usual. It's difficult sometimes. You have to make some decisions. And the one big thing that I've learned really early on was don't let the crowd dictate what you're going to do. Because, everybody wants everybody to score, but not everybody knows the situation. We might have a ball that a guy might be able to score on, but there's nobody out and Bryce Harper's coming up. Well, I'm going to stop him at third base and let Bryce take care of his business. So
right.
you just have to really trust your instincts and trust the homework that you've done and know where you are in the lineup. Know run probabilities, kind of like this is a better idea to stop him because there's a better chance that we're going to score more runs if this guy is stopped at third base than if he might get thrown out at home plate. So I think you know when to be a little bit more cautious and when to be a little bit more aggressive. And it's difficult sometimes, but luckily for me, I think it was a little bit easier already coaching third base for 5 years in the major leagues, coaching on ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, multiple times, being in the national spotlight in some big games, and then going into the playoffs. Then I can imagine what it's like a rookie, like going into the playoffs and trying to do that. It's like what Bryson Stott did as a rookie playing shortstop in the World Series to me is quite amazing.
That was special. That was special. And also there and then you could tell that there's something about Bryson Stott. Also as well with the playoffs, the noise, the atmosphere. Did you have a chance just to sort of step back a little bit during the big, after Rhys Hoskins' bat spike and the big moments, Bryce Harper's, home runs, just to step back a little bit and just take in the atmosphere and the noise and the euphoria, or were you always switched on? Because it must be hard because the noise and the emotion is just incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think after a big home run or a big run score, you kind of look around and see the crowd and how crazy it's going. Obviously we had some big homers in the last couple of years. Bedlam at the bank, you look around and, I get chills right now just thinking about it. And it was special. Rhys's bat slam, like you said. Yeah. I think when you score big runs like that, it's important to kind of suck it all in and feel it. And then, kind of check it off and say, okay, here we go. We're back to work. But I think you need to take, a few seconds to realize what's happened in this moment and that you're lucky to be part of a moment like this. It's going to be in Phillies history forever.
Have you ever had times where you've had to sort of contain your emotion, you're going to be like everybody else and just go crazy? Have you sort of had to take a deep breath and go, No,
I mean, I think you're always looking to the next play. I think we as coaches really get a lot of enjoyment out of watching the players and the fans do their thing. It's fun watching Philly fans grow crazy. And now over the last couple of years, it's like that in the regular season games a lot of nights.
Absolutely.
So it's fun. It's changed a lot. The crowds have changed a lot since my first year in the big leagues, and the players love it. I love it. I enjoy going to the ballpark every day, and it's a different animal now going to the ballpark every day, knowing that there's going to be 40-some thousand people there, and they have your back every night.
Absolutely. Is there any calls you've made where have you perhaps thought to yourself after, should have let him go? And then does Topper talk to you after that? If the players made a mistake, or is it just shaken off and again, you're on to the next one?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's some plays that really upset you. There's some plays that, you screwed up on, and it's like a player, you're going to make mistakes. You hope you don't make too many of them, and you hope you can learn from them. So I think I've learned from a lot of mistakes that I've made. The good thing about coaching third base for a guy like Topper, he coached third base in the big league. So I think that's an important thing. He knows what it's like to be over there. If you're coaching third base for a manager that's never coached third base, it's a little bit more difficult because he knows what's going on. He knows the adrenaline. He knows what's happened over there. He's made mistakes in the past, and he's had success in the past. So I learned this from Doug Manzolino, who was our minor league field coordinator, coached third base in the big leagues for a long time, that I usually tap third base after a guy's safe or out. And I got a little saying. I just say, "This too shall pass." Whether you screwed it up or you made it right. And sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you send a guy and you're like, "Oh, I think he's going to be out." Throws offline and he's safe. So you just tap third base and say, "This too shall pass," and on to the next one. Here we go.
I love that. I'll never forget against that Miami wild card series of the picture of you with your hands up to Bryce saying stop, Bryce going straight through, thankfully scoring. Did you say anything after that moment? Was there a little cheeky wink, or was there a Bryce?
He usually apologizes to me. He usually says, "I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself a little bit." But again, I tell these guys, I say, if the ball's in front of you, you know how fast you're running. I'm just trying to guess how fast you're running. I'm just watching you. If you think you can make it, and you know the situation, go ahead. I'm going to give you a suggestion, which 99% of the time I would say they follow it. But sometimes that's just going to happen. Bryce is a hard guy to stop sometimes.
Right.
He gets his mind made up that he's going to score. And luckily, most of the time, he's right. So I'll take it. That's just one of those things that happens. And if he's safe, I'll put my hands up and have him be safe every time. I'll take it. I tell the guys all the time. I said, you know what? I'll take all the blame for everything. You guys can have all the credit.
I love that. And this might sound silly, but what's it like working with these guys? Especially like Bryce Harper, a future MVP. Do you ever just stand there and think, oh, this guy's just amazing? The big moments when he steps up, you're like, are you sometimes disappointed if he doesn't hit a home run? It's just working with Bryce must just be, and this team must just be a joy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a lot of fun to be around great players, generational talents. We got them all over the field, not just Bryce.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's neat to work with these guys, but they're just regular guys. And for me, I've been around, Hall of Famers and stuff since I was a little kid. So there's not a lot of awe to it. I think when guys first get in, especially if they didn't play much, there might be a little bit of awe. But once you realize that these guys are normal guys, they just happen to be really good. This is what they're really good at. They were not really good doctors. They're not really good lawyers. They just happen to be really good baseball players. And they're a normal guy. They go home. They have kids. They've got pets. They got fights with their wives. They got arguments and everything else. So they just happen to be really good at baseball. And those relationships are good to have because they know that, we have their back and that they're normal guys, just happen to be really good at something like this.
I think that's why there's such a connection between the fans and the team because they come across as relatable as well. They come across as normal guys, and it's easier for us as fans to really feel an attachment to them because you see Brandon Marsh and the daycare lads, the Bryson Stott Bohm being cheeky, messing around, Suarez, and those guys as well. The cheekiness about them and just the normality of them. You just feel like they're just normal guys having fun, just doing what they're good at.
Yeah, that's true. That's how they are. I mean, and I think the more that you can keep the guys loose and let them be themselves, I think the more you get out of guys. I think, you try to make somebody that they're not. I think they're uncomfortable. They're kind of put an act on. And this way, they're comfortable when they get to the ballpark. They're comfortable around us. And it shows on the field a lot.
Absolutely. And like I said at the start of the show, just over 3 weeks until you guys are coming to my yard, to our yard, London. Yeah. Was this your first time in London? Have you been to London before?
No, yeah, this would be my first time to Europe at all. Done South America and some stuff, so never had the chance to get to Europe. Always have a summer job for the last 30 years. So it's a tough time to get over there. And once the winter rolls around, a lot of times it's trying to get a quick trip into a sunny spot somewhere, in the Caribbean or somewhere like that, Central America. But looking forward to it. Very excited. You and I talked before. My wife went to the University of Sussex Teachers College. She's from Canada, Heidi, and she spent some time in Brighton, obviously. So she's going to come over there with me and be involved in the couple games there and the events that are going to be around it. So.
I can imagine she's very excited of returning back to the UK.
Yeah, I think so. She hasn't been back. We've been married 25 years, and she hasn't been back since Teachers College, I don't think.
Oh, wow.
And so she's excited to get over there and spend a couple days. And we always said, we need to get over there sometime, but it just hasn't worked out. Luckily, my oldest daughter, Elle, we might be over there this winter. She's taken a job in Madrid as a teacher. Nice. English teacher in Madrid. So maybe that'll be Christmas in Spain, maybe stop by England on the way back or on the way out. So we might be spending some more time over there with her being over there. So we're excited. We love to travel, and this will be a fun trip.
Oh, absolutely. I know it's a short time while you're here, but is there anything you guys want to try or want to do, or any food you want to try while you're over here?
Well, I don't really have a specific thing. Maybe some fish and chips, probably. That'd be something. Yeah. But I just want to kind of see what it's all about. She's told me a lot about England. Her mom's side of the family is originally from over there, and they've spent a lot of time over there. So it's just cool to be in another culture. And there's not many places in the world where it's kind of totally opposite, and they still speak English. Most places you go,
That's very true.
It's Spanish or French or something like that. So I'm excited just to check out the whole thing, and we get one day off, so I'm sure we'll be doing some stuff. She'll probably have some stuff lined up for us, as well as the ball club.
And are the players looking forward to it? Has it been spoken at all much? Is it on their radar yet? Or is it, has it been spoke about at all yet?
Yeah, because there's a lot of planning for it, obviously. We've had meetings about it, what's going to happen kind of, and I'm sure we'll have a few more as we get closer. But, yeah, I think the players are looking forward to it. Anytime you're basically going to be on the world stage in another country, it's a lot of fun. I've done the Williamsport game a couple times, the Little League World Series
that's awesome.
game.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun, but haven't played outside of Canada or the U.S. yet in one of these world games. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, it's some business to take care of, too, because they're 2 regular season games.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things we try to preach to the players, that these games count. You don't want to miss the playoffs or miss an opportunity by 1 or 2 games. So we're going over there to win 2 baseball games.
And for us, this is for us Phillies fans, for sure, this is going to be very special. But the bigger picture is that this is something unique, and it's helping build the sport in this country, and it really is growing. And what you guys are doing is coming over here is not just the 2 games, which are very, very important, but you're building a sort of legacy, and the London series is part of the process of really building the sport here. Has that been put across to you guys, just how big this is? It is an international series, but you're going a long way to continuing to build the sport in this country and develop new Phillies fans as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think it's great for the game of baseball. Any place that baseball is not real popular, I think if we can grow it a little bit more, there's athletes everywhere. I mean, obviously, the soccer or football that you guys have in England, those guys are athletes. I mean, tremendous athletes. If we can get a few of those guys playing baseball, you never know. I mean, you might have a couple guys from England, little kids right now that get excited in baseball when they're 8, 10 years old, and I know they're trying to develop some little leagues over there, from what I hear.
Yeah.
And you might have some guys that end up in the big leagues. So I think it's exciting. Anytime we can add more countries that are participants in the game of baseball, I'm all for it. And hopefully this helps and is kind of a stepping stone to maybe something greater over there.
Absolutely. And Team GB, Great Britain, having a brilliant World Baseball Classic last year has definitely helped. It made the mainstream. It got people talking about baseball. People asking me questions, with GB's rise on the world stage as well. And of course, London series coming over here. We're set to have another 2 games of, at the moment, as it stands, over 60,000 fans at both games. On the main stage, it's going to be on free to air telly over here as well, the 2 games. London's going all out for it. There's events all over London. It's going to be like a festival of baseball. That's the best way to put it. And I know there's so many Philly fans traveling over. And, if there's one thing I say to Philly fans coming over, is just bring that CBP energy, because we're going to replicate it over here. We want to make it like a home game for the Phillies. We're going to be loud. The passion's going to be the same. The atmosphere is going to be the same. It's going to be fantastic. The Bohm chant's going to be going. I don't know what he's going to make of it, but he's going to hear it. I hope he takes to it. But we are so excited for you guys to come over. And I've got a little game for you here, Dusty. There's some British phrases here, which I'm just going to see, which you might hear when you're here in London. I just need you to be prepared for. So let's just a bit of fun. Let's see how many you can get right here. You ready? All right. So this is a bit of Cockney slang as well, as we call it. But if I asked you, Dusty, to stick the balls in the bat in the boot, what would I be referring to?
The trunk of the car.
Trunk of the car. There we go. See, this shouldn't be too bad. If I offered you some prawn cocktail crisps, what would I be referring to?
Some shrimp potato chips.
He's got it. Here we go. 2 out of 2. All right. If I said that Bryce Harper looks the bee's knees, what would I be referring to?
He looks like he's the best.
Oh, he's flying through it. It's too easy. If I said to you, Dusty, you fancy a cuppa, what would I be referring to?
Would you like something? Like a beer, maybe? I don't know what that copper is.
A fancy a cuppa. So if someone said you fancy a cuppa, it would mean, would you like a cup of tea?
Okay, cup of tea.
So
yeah.
it could only be, that phrase can only be used if referring to tea. It's very,
Okay.
it's very, very British.
Okay.
If I said to you, Dusty, let's head down to the local.
We're going to the bar.
We're going to the bar. We're going to the local pub. Every single
yeah.
city, town, village, as big or small, has at least 2 pubs. Sometimes more pubs than shops, depending on the size. And everyone has their own local. You would call our nearest pub, our nearest bar, the local. So you would always say,
Nice.
let's head down the local. And I would, if I said to you, Dusty, get your wellies and bring your brolly, what would I be referring to?
I don't know that one.
So on a day like today, which is miserable, I would say get your wellies, which is otherwise known as your Wellington boots.
Okay.
And get your brolly, which should just be your umbrella, which hopefully we won't need in June. Touch wood.
Yeah, knock on wood, huh?
I know it's my one biggest fear is the weather. Just dry, just no rain, please. It can be dry. The last 2 London series have been scorching weather. It's been beautiful. If I said to you, Dusty, I'm off to the loo, what would I be referring to?
Going to the bathroom.
Going to the bathroom. There we go. If I said, oh, that was naff, what would I be referring to?
That was naff?
Naff. Yeah, if I said to you, that was naff.
I don't know. I would guess that that's no good, but I'm
not
no
good. Yeah, rubbish. Okay. That was rubbish. Terrible.
Rubbish, okay.
What's he doing? That was naff. And if I went ta, what would that mean?
See you later. Bye.
Thank you. It's a bit of a northern English phrase, that one, but a lot of people go, oh, ta.
Like ta.
Or it's instead of cheers, so they'll just go ta, ta.
Gotcha.
There you go. Well, Dusty, you nailed that, to be honest. What better
well, I think I had a little bit of an advantage with the wife being Canadian and the British influence in Canada. So I think I had a little advantage there.
Awesome. Dusty, I cannot thank you enough for your time and for coming on the show. I hope we can catch up in London. I'll be there for the Friday for batting practice, so I'll try and flag you down and call you over.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get the Passyunk over there, maybe.
Absolutely,
that'd be one thing, and maybe a couple of the locals. So maybe we'll run into each other. Love to catch up.
Absolutely, Dusty. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Thank you for watching as ever. We will have another guest on next week as we continue to build down to the London series. Just over, and I can't believe I'm saying this, 3 weeks away. It's nearly here, guys. The anticipation is incredible. A lot of people have now been getting in touch, just saying how excited they are more than anything else. And that's the fans here, fans in Europe, fans in America, and around the world. There's so many fans flying in to June for the Phillies v. the Mets. Dusty, let's get it this week. Big one against the Mets. We feeling good? The momentum's gonna carry on.
I think so. I think we're always feeling good right now. It's a good time to be a Philly.
Absolutely. Guys, I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Dusty, thank you so much. See you later. Ta.
You got it.